Good evening. This meeting of the Littleton Licensing Authority will come to order. If you could all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. The first item on the agenda.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Did we want to call roll?
Yes. Would you please call the roll? It's a great idea.
Chair Cole.
Here.
Vice Chair Levere.
Present.
Authority Member Buchanan.
Here.
Authority Member Day. Authority Member Schock.
Here.
Authority Member Webb.
Here.
Authority Member Winsack.
Here.
All right. Next, we'll have approval of the agenda. Did anyone have any changes? And if not, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is 3A, the certification of the August 9th, 2017 regular meeting minutes. Did authority members have any changes? And if not, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to accept. Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Next item is public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to speak that is not intending to speak on an item that is otherwise on the agenda? No? All right, next item is 6A, a new liquor license application to approve a liquor license, an application for Circle K Stores, Inc. doing business as Circle K Store number 2709869 at 3694 West Bowles, Littleton, Colorado. Do we have a representative from the applicant?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Is this one working here? Is that okay?
I think so, yep.
All righty then. Mr. Chairman, members of the authority, my name is Kevin Coates. I'm from Dill & Dill. I'm the attorney here on behalf of Circle K. We're here for our hearing tonight. My registration number is 25995, by the way. This is Eva Garrettson. She'll testify regarding needs and desires, as well as we have Craig Holmes, who's the regional operations director for a bunch of stores, and he can tell you how many for the area here, as well as the market manager, not the store manager, one hasn't been picked yet, but the market manager who oversees approximately 10 stores or so, that being Travis York. So we're here to proceed and ready to swear folks in and whatever you...
Yeah, why don't we, I think Authority Member Webb wanted to make a disclosure real quick, and then we'll swear some folks in.
Mr. Chairman, members of the authority, I want to put on the record that I currently office in the office building where Dill & Dill is located at 455 Sherman Street. I don't know Mr. Coates, but I know a number of the attorneys in that firm. I don't believe that gives rise to any grounds for me to recuse myself, but I wanted to put it on the record.
Thank you for the disclosure.
I've been there for 15 years. I can't believe I haven't run across...
We just moved in last week.
Oh, is that... Okay, there we go.
Week 250.
There you go. Appreciate it.
All right. Why don't, if you wouldn't mind, anyone that you intend to have testify, have them come up together. We'll ask people to swear in, and then I'll turn it back over to you.
Perfect. And may I sit through this? Or
Yes.
do you need me to
Yeah.
sit? Thank you very much. Appreciate
In fact, it might help us get you right in front of that microphone, even
go.
better. Yeah. All right. Good evening. Could I just have each of you, I know he did, but identify yourselves again for the record. Make sure you speak in the microphone, and then I'll ask you to swear in.
I'm Craig Holmes.
Good evening, Mr. Holmes.
I'm Travis York.
York. Good evening. Oh, Mr. York, good evening.
And once again, I'm Eva Garrettson with Liquor Licensing Professionals.
Good evening, Ms. Garrison. If you could all raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give before this authority is truthful?
Yes.
All right, thank you. If you would like to go ahead and make your presentation, and we'll jump in with any questions as we go.
It's been a while.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Let me just enter into the record. We have exhibits A through F, which I'm assuming some of which you're going to want to speak to. So I'm going to move we enter exhibits A through F into the record.
So moved, or second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, go ahead.
And I don't know, as I recall, the last time the city clerk did give a dissertation of what essentially the exhibits are.
Oh, I can do that. I'd be happy for folks.
If I recall correctly, and kind of set the table for us all. I certainly can muddle my way through if not.
No,
but
I'd be
if
happy to do that. So Exhibit A is the application. Exhibit B is the boundaries and signed waiver, and that's our agreeing to the boundaries as it's been set by the clerk before you all went out on the petition. Exhibit C is proof of posting at the premise. Exhibit D is proof of publication of the hearing this evening. Exhibit E is the petition. And then Exhibit F is a public hearing roster, which I have here with me.
Perfect, and all of those have been admitted, and you can certainly take administrative notice of any of them, I suppose. Is that fair?
Yes.
Very good. I'm ready to go then, if you
Yeah,
are.
please go ahead.
Very good. Ms. Gerritsen, could you tell us your full name and spell your last name for us?
Yes, sir. My name is Eva Gerritsen. Last name is Garretson.
And you were just previously sworn in, is that true?
That is correct.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I currently own Liquor Licensing Professionals. We are a survey and responsible vendor trainer here in Colorado. I am currently based out of Colorado Springs. We've been in business for 13 years. I have been with the business for 5 years now. I am registered as one of the responsible vendor trainers and have done so. We've done more than, I want to say, 1,100 surveys throughout the state, including liquor and marijuana licenses, and currently continue doing so. Yeah.
Very good. You've testified obviously in front of this authority as well as numerous other authorities many times regarding needs and desires petition surveys.
That is correct.
And in terms of the survey that you submitted that is depicted and admitted as Exhibit E, that was pre-filed with the city, is that correct?
That is correct.
And was it conducted in an accurate manner and conducted consistent with how you always conducted the petition surveys for your company?
Yes, it is.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about it and tell us what your results were?
You bet. So prior to the survey, we are notified by the Deputy City Clerk. Thank you very much for all your help. She's been wonderful. Regarding the license, the type of license and the application that's being applied for. We have tally sheets and are given to our circulators tally sheets, a face sheet, signature sheets, a map of the area with the boundary that was provided by you folks, and an affidavit that was signed by each circulator verifying each signature that they took. We started in certain areas within the defined area. We also did try certain areas that were inaccessible to us or that we did make attempts to, however, they were not available to us for surveying or petitioning. We went ahead and visited the site. Each circulator was aware of the type of license that was being applied for. They were also asked to remain unbiased in their opinion, provide factual information only. We don't guarantee results to the client. We are an unbiased company, so we take no's just as much as we take the yeses. We just basically provide the information, gather the feedback to turn into you folks.
In terms of this particular petition and survey, tell us what the results were and what you found.
Yes, sir. This particular survey, we obtained 156 signatures. 135 of them were in favor of this particular license at 87%, and 21 were opposed at 13%. Of the business survey results, we obtained 52 signatures, which 45 were in favor at 87%, and 7 were opposed at 13%. Of the residential survey results that we obtained, it was 104 residential with 90 in favor at 87% and 14 opposed at 13%. We did go through and take out the reasons which may be invalid or irrelevant to the needs and desires issue of the survey. Once we did that, the percentage actually went up to 92% that signed in favor and 8% that were opposed.
In terms of those signatures that you essentially subtracted from the other numbers, in order to get the 92%. Only 2 said that there were too many or enough 3-2 operations within the defined boundary. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And 9 gave no reason.
Correct.
5 gave either competition, or if you had a 5, 7, 1, 1, 1, either traffic, kids, crime, alcohol, or competition. Is that fair?
That is correct.
And those don't fall in typically to the category of whether or not there's a need and desire based upon the standard that's set by the statute. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement.
And so
Mr.
it shows us about 92% in favor of issuance of the license based upon your petition survey.
That is, yes.
And, but if you do factor in any reason, any given reason why anyone is opposed to the license, it still shows an 87% favor rate.
Correct.
Much greater than a majority of the individuals within the boundary.
Correct. We've done these particular surveys, and this actual number is on average on the higher end of a 3-2 license that we normally typically see.
Yeah, 3-2 is the only class of license that's subject, obviously, to the analysis of is there a need for not any other class. Is it your understanding, based upon Exhibit B, which is the boundaries, that there is only one other 3-2 beer license within the entire boundary that's been given to us by the city in Exhibit B?
That is correct. That is the Shell station.
6200 South Santa Fe Drive, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that
And
is
that's
correct.
substantial walking distance, or substantial distance, essentially, other side of the boundary, basically, from where this location is.
Quite a bit, yes, sir.
Does all that factor into whether or not you believe that there's a need and desire in this area, this defined boundary, as depicted in Exhibit B, for this 3-2 beer license to issue?
I do agree that factors in, and we do believe that these results show good need and desire for this particular license in this area.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the authority that I haven't asked you a question about?
Gentlemen?
Certainly tender you to the council for any, or the authority for any questions they may have.
Any questions? All right, thank
You're
you.
going to let me off that easy, huh?
We are.
All right.
Things seem to be in order.
All right.
Thank you very
you.
much.
May Ms. Garrettson be excused tonight?
That'd be fine, yes.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Gentlemen, have a good evening.
Appreciate it. Take
You as
care.
well.
See ya. Mr. Holmes, maybe if you come down. Put this diagram in front of you too, so maybe you can chat.
Okay.
Mr. Holmes, could you please state your full name and spell your last name for us?
Craig W. Holmes, Holmes.
And Mr. Holmes, you were just sworn in, is that true?
Correct.
Can you please tell us who you are and what you do for a living?
I'm the Regional Operations Director for Circle K in the Denver market. I run the Central Region.
And that region just was recently created. It used to be just one region here, but now Circle K is taking on other stores, including CST stores, and it's a much bigger operation, so they split it up into 3 regions. Is that correct?
Correct. We have 3 regions, 210 locations in Colorado.
And you're overseeing both Circle K's and CST stores, correct?
Correct.
How many do you oversee in your capacity?
67.
And Circle K as a company, though, prior to this change of acquiring CSTs, has approximately about more than 60, 65 stores here in the state of Colorado. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
And they have a master file with the state of Colorado that depicts the names on that master file who have been vetted by the state of Colorado for the purposes of liquor licensing. Fair statement?
Correct.
Anything in the background of any individuals that are listed on that master file letter that would make any one of them, to your knowledge, ineligible to have ownership interest or control interest in a liquor license establishment?
No.
And in fact, in terms of Circle K as an ownership of Circle K, the best way to describe this is between Circle K Inc., which operates as the licensee here, there's a bunch of companies in between all the way up to a publicly traded company that is a publicly traded company in Canada. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And all those companies in between are 100% owned by the next one up the chain that's 100% owned by that publicly traded company in Canada.
Correct.
Couche-Tard, is that the name of the company?
Eliminate Couche-Tard.
There you go. I always get it wrong, but that's the company. Obviously, a company of good moral character.
Yes.
Is that a fair statement? Very good.
Yes.
We'll save all training requirements for testimony by Mr. York, but I want to talk to you a little bit about essentially this operation. What's the plan in terms of opening this store here?
It would, at this time, if weather holds and my construction team is accurate, will be around 11/11.
And the building's being built currently right now?
It is.
And obviously, more than $1 million being spent in the operations associated with this particular facility.
Far north of $1 million.
And in terms of the finances for that, they're coming obviously down the chain from the publicly traded company, and it's a company that doesn't have any financial issues. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
And in terms of, what Circle K does, can you tell us a little bit about Circle K as a convenience store and why it is that Circle K wants a 3-2 beer license to go with its products?
It's to have a complete product mix and offering to our public. We consider ourselves a best-in-class chain, and we want to represent that not only in our sales mix, but in our associates and the facilities we build.
And I assume that you currently, you have the same experience with both the Circle K's and the CST stores as convenience stores. You don't have a lot of alcohol sales at 3-2 beer. Is that a fair statement?
No.
But you may not have a lot of sales of toilet paper or toothbrushes either. Is that a fair statement?
That would be accurate.
And in terms of having, the way I've heard it described before is all three of those things are important for the customer to make sure that they have that availability in the convenience store, or otherwise they may go somewhere else.
Well, the reality is we sell time. We sell time in the fact that we make it a one-stop shop for the quick in and out convenience.
And obviously, even though you may not have great 3-2 beer alcohol sales, it's important, obviously, that product line and saving folks time.
Correct.
In terms of the day-to-day operations of the store, approximately how many employees do you intend to have here?
This location will employ somewhere around 15 employees.
And in terms of all those employees, they'll be subject to the training requirements that Mr. York's going to describe. Is that fair statement?
Yes, 100% of the staff has to adhere to all of our training programs.
And in terms of the staff, you have not named yet a manager at this location. Is that true?
Correct.
But we will obviously have the ability prior to the 11th or shortly thereafter of the 11th, when that person is identified, to be able to notify essentially the city here and let them know who the manager is going to be at this store.
We will certainly do that. We actually have a few internal candidates that would like to come to this location. So the interview process should be completed next week.
But the hierarchy is basically you have a set of clerks, you have a manager who's yet to be identified. The manager is managed by a market manager such as Mr. York, and then the market managers are managed by you as a regional operational director. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
So obviously we're bringing the important individuals here tonight to be able to testify in regards to the importance of obviously this license for this particular entity.
Correct. I think Travis is more important than I am. Correct.
Well, in terms of the location here, you heard a little bit of testimony from Ms. Garrettson that there's only one other 3-2 beer outlet within the entire boundary that's been given to us. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And that's that Shell store that's over off of Santa Fe.
Correct.
In terms of geography, could you describe for us a little bit about the area, how far away that is, and whether or not you're more convenient to the folks that are closer to you, both in residents and businesses, than the folks that are close to that store, which is however far away it is, you're going to tell us.
You know, if memory serves me right, it's in the 3.5-4 mile range for approximately, maybe 2.5. But it's across a couple other major roads. So the people that live on Platte Canyon to the south and west of our location, and the people that live on Bowles west of our location will be better served by us, whereas Federal and East would be better served by the current location.
And in terms of your location, obviously, the individuals that are close to it, it'd be a bit difficult walk for them to go up to the other location. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And dangerous one too, with a lot of busy streets.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that floor plan there that's been submitted as part of the packet. I believe it's Exhibit A. That tells us essentially how that's set up, as well as how it is set up for the purpose of basically having lawful alcohol sales.
So as you look at the diagram, the beer placement is in the southeast corner of the cooler area. It'll be 2 doors placed in that corner, even with the sales counter. So the sales counter actually has a straight line of sight of those doors, and they're pretty much the furthest doors away from the front entrance for us to be able to monitor and control any activity towards those doors.
You're able to size folks up as they come up to the counter, basically, because you can see them from the second they go to the door.
Correct. You should be able to see them when they come in the front door, and you should be able to see them as they go shop those two windows.
That also helped to make sure that alcohol isn't stolen from the location.
Correct.
And doors are locked between midnight and 8 a.m. Because that's the restriction associated when sales can occur.
Correct.
In terms of the point of sale system, tell us a little bit about it and how it works.
Our point of sale system, anytime you have an age restricted sale, so in our world that would be tobacco or alcohol, it prompts the cashier to ask for an ID, and it requires that they actually scan that ID, so the electronics in the POS system does the math for them instead of us having the human error element of trying to figure out the date on their own. The POS system will do that for them and let them know whether it's a legal sale or not. And that sale can't be completed until the scan's done.
But the policy is obviously to run that ID.
Correct.
And to have the employees, they're trained obviously to run that ID as well. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And in terms of that floor plan, that setup, what you've described in terms of the point of sale system as well as the doors and the footprint, do you believe that is a suitable setup so that we'll have lawful alcohol sales?
Yes, I do. And this footprint we actually have in about 20 sites in Colorado today.
Operate pretty well out of that footprint?
Yes, they do.
And in terms of this this store at this location, you've heard the testimony, but obviously you're obviously familiar with the area as well. Do you believe there's a need and desire in this area for this 3-2 beer license to issue to Circle K?
I do. I think it'll be much more convenient for, the folks that are in Normandy Terrace and south and west of the site.
Very good. Is there anything else you want to tell the authority that I haven't asked you a question about?
No, I'm good.
And I'll tender Mr. Holmes to you for any additional questions you may have. As I said, we'll bring Mr. York up to testify regarding training, if certainly as well.
Okay. The point of sale system, if I didn't have an ID, is there an override, or do I just?
If you do not
if I
have
as a customer.
Yeah, if as a customer, if you cannot produce an identification, we will not complete the sale.
Okay. Any other questions?
As a point of interest, who stocks your beer coolers? The distributor or your employees?
Our employees. The distributors deliver it and put it in the cooler, but as far as getting it from back stock to shelf stock, that's our employees.
So is there an additional stocking area in the back of the store in addition to the coolers?
No, it's in this particular application in this store, the product, the back stock product will be right behind the window that it goes in for sale.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you describe the regional area that you cover again for me? I'm sorry.
I didn't describe it before, but I can. So essentially, with a couple of exceptions, I have everything south of I-70, west of Colorado Boulevard, north of C-470, but I do have Highlands Ranch, and I also cover Durango, Farmington, New Mexico, Grand Junction, Glenwood Springs, Frisco, Georgetown.
Okay. Have you been responsible for stations where, in other states other than Colorado?
Yes, I currently have 2 in Farmington, New Mexico now.
Is that a 3.2 restriction in New Mexico as well? Or are they
No, New Mexico, one of our stores does not have a license. The other one has a full liquor license. So,
how does the management of that store compare to a 3.2 store?
It's considerably busier. So it's a little harder to manage in the fact that it has a lot more volume. But that particular store has the exact same footprint as this store, and we have the exact same policies and procedures as far as how we adhere to the liquor laws, and the standards set by the state of New Mexico are almost the same as Colorado. So our age-restricted policies in our training program are the same, and how we approach the back stock and the retail stock is the same.
Okay. Do you have any, I don't know if this is appropriate to ask, but I'm just kind of curious, do you have any intents at the end of next year to carry the full-strength beer as it's known here in Colorado?
That's a undetermined question for, I think, the convenience store industry in general. We're not far enough down that road yet. That law, as it's been presented, is still morphing, and there's contesting factors against it in the legislature as we speak.
Any other questions for Mr. Holmes? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You might leave it up there. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. York, could you tell us your full name, spell your last name for us?
Yes, it's Travis York, and it's Y-O-R-K.
And Mr. York, you were previously sworn in, true?
True.
So you heard us mention with two other witnesses here tonight that you're here to talk to us about training. So these are kind of always the best tell us questions. Tell us a little bit about your training program and how you folks plan to implement it here at this particular store.
Well, anytime a employee is hired with Circle K, before they can step foot into the store to start working, they go to our training department and they attend a full day's class of online computer-based training where they take the courses, then they have to take the test. They have to make 100% on each test before they're approved to move forward. The restricted sales course and test talks about the effects of alcohol. It talks about how to judge a customer as far as if the customer appears to be intoxicated, how to properly turn down a sale, how to properly read an ID and scan it, and the different times that an ID might be invalid.
In terms of the employee's acknowledgement of that training, do they have to sign off on a form saying they've been trained?
Yes.
And do they have to, part of that acknowledgement, does it include that if you fail to follow the policies and procedures in your training, particularly as it relates to, for instance, a compliance check or a sting operation, that you can be subject to criminal penalty?
If they fail a sting operation, they are terminated.
And are they made aware that it'll also likely be criminally prosecuted
Yes.
as well? And they have to sign off and acknowledge on that, is
Yes.
that correct? And in terms of the employees' training program, they're subject to video on a regular basis. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And are they also subject to a secret shoppers program?
Yes, we do have secret shoppers program.
Tell us a little bit about that secret shoppers program.
It's called the BARS program.
And how does it work?
They will come in and usually they will try to buy alcohol or tobacco, one or the other. And sometimes they'll use a reason, I'm sorry, I don't have my ID, and then they'll leave, and then they'll come back in, and the clerk either gets a green card, which means they passed, or a red card.
So they attempt to purchase alcohol without an ID at all, and,
Yes.
and the employee,
And sometimes they do have an ID.
and if
know.
they do have an ID, these are individuals over the age of 21, but under the policy age in terms of how they look, so that
Yes.
they should be carded. Is that a
Yes.
fair statement? And in terms of what is the policy age generally for
Our policy is if you appear to be under the age of 40,
you need to be carded?
card.
So the secret shoppers program is to make sure that folks that look under 40 or folks that don't have IDs are being carded or alcohol's not being sold to them.
Yes.
And in terms of the red card, green card system, you don't get fired for a first offense on that, but you do get fired for multiple offenses on that.
Yes.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
So is it retraining occur for someone if in fact they fail a red card, green card setup?
Yes, retraining.
And obviously retrain not through the entire program, but talk to the other employees to say, hey, we're being monitored and we need to make sure that they're verbally coached to
Yes.
follow our training policies and procedures. Is that a fair
Yes.
statement?
And every time I'm in a store, I remind the employees to make sure they're checking IDs. I watch, each month, I pick 4 stores that I watch 20 to 30 minutes of video, live video of them, whether they're checking IDs or not.
So it's a check upon the check upon the
Yes.
check. You do it obviously internally as well.
Yes.
In terms of I understand that there is a disincentive for management for there to be a violation at a particular store. Is that a fair statement financially for the manager and possibly the market manager?
Yes, if is a violation, the manager loses his bonus for the quarter, and the market manager loses part of his bonus for the quarter.
And in terms of the employee, obviously they lose their job.
And the employee loses their job.
Does Circle K have a call-in system that they use nightly to make sure that folks are going through the policies and procedures associated with alcohol sales?
Yes, the Circle K policy, the managers are required to talk to the employees before they leave the store to remind their second shift to check IDs for whatever purpose it might be. They call the store at night, then I call the stores at night. And we also have a form, it's called a restricted sales log, that every time the employee works, they read it and they have to sign it, that they read it, and it's stating that they're agreeing that they will check IDs for alcohol and tobacco.
Very good. All the employees here at this store will be subject to this training program you just described. Is
Yes.
that a fair statement? And the design of it obviously is to do it what we can, and we're open to suggestion always to improve, but what it is that we can to not have violations or not have improper alcohol sales. Fair statement?
Exactly.
Now, they happen
Yes. they do.
because employees completely ignore the policies and procedures is what our experience has always been,
Yes.
and they end up losing their job.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to tell the authority that I haven't asked you a question about?
If and you might have asked, but if we are found in violation, the entire store goes through a TIPS course training.
Tips too, as well as addition to the additional
Yes.
training as well. Very good. Well, I would tender you to the authority for any additional questions that they may have.
So you said the policy is to ID if a customer looks like they're under 40?
If they appear to be under the age of 40.
If they appear to be over the age of 40, how does the scanning in the point of sale system work?
They have an override button, but we do not allow them to use it. So they key in the birthday.
Okay.
I have 12 stores. I require my stores to check 100%
Okay.
due to the fact that.
Would that be including this one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the
sorry.
policy at the store for the application we're talking about tonight would be to ID everyone.
Yes. I just believe you're safer that way.
Okay.
I better, some would say it's more of a practice of this particular market manager, but it's not a policy of the company.
Sure.
40 is the policy of the company.
Right,
just so-
understand.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
So I wanted to make sure we didn't
Right,
have
but the intent is you intend to ask your employees at this store to ID everyone.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Mr. York, of the 12 stores you supervise, how many are within the city of Littleton?
I believe there's 3.
Okay, and if, of those stores within the past 2 years,
Well,
they-
3 including,
including the new one?
yes, and including a CST, 2 CSTs.
Okay. So of those stores in the past 2 years, have any of them ever been cited for illegal sales or underage sales?
Not in Littleton, no,
Thank you.
that I'm aware of.
Any other questions? from
Are
us?
you responsible for hiring at this new store, or is that another person?
Right now, we are having the managers look for employees, and then we second interview them. And so,
Do you have any policies or procedures around hiring convicted felons?
we run a background check on anybody, and it's either a pass or fail. And if they fail, we normally do not hire them.
And what's a fail? Is that
If it's a felony or,
any felony ever, or in the last 7?
no, I've seen them go back as far as 10 years.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. York? All right. Thank you very much for your time. Anything else you want to close with?
I don't have anything else. I just, I don't think anybody's here in opposition when you ask, but to the extent no one stands up and says they're in opposition, I believe we've made a prima facie case for issuance of the license, and without opposition, I'd ask that it issue, and appreciate your time very much of listening to us tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank
I'll
you.
look for you in the building, too.
All right, and I don't, my Exhibit F does not have anyone else, but is there anyone else that would like to testify before we close the public hearing? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion that we could discuss.
It's in my district, I'll take it. I move that the public hearing be closed and that a resolution for the Littleton Licensing Authority be approved that grants Circle K Stores, Inc., DBA Circle K Store, 270-09869, 3694 West Bowles, Littleton, Colorado, a 3.2 beer liquor license contingent upon approval by the Colorado Liquor Enforcement Division, based upon the following findings of fact. 1, the notice of the hearing was properly posted and published. 2, that the applicant has possession of the premises and the premises are suitable for the requested license. 3, that the needs in the neighborhood are not now being met. 4, that it is the desire of the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood that the license be issued. 5, that existing similar liquor licenses in the designated neighborhood are not adequate. And 6, that the applicant is of good moral character, record, and reputation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Everything looks in order to me. Very thorough presentation. Any other thoughts from the authority? If not, will the clerk please call the roll?
Chair Cole,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lavier,
Yes.
Authority Member Buchanan,
Yes.
Authority Member Schock,
Yes.
Authority Member Webb.
Yes.
That passes unanimously. Congratulations, gentlemen. Hope to not see you back in regards to this application.
We hope so, too. Thank you. Appreciate your time very much. You folks have a great night.
Thanks, guys.
You as well. The next item on the agenda is a resolution to approve a liquor license application for the Falls of Littleton LLC, doing business as the Falls Event Center, 8199 South Park Court in Littleton, Colorado. Do we have a representative for the applicant here tonight?
Chairman, I'm John Neubauer. I'm Corporate General Manager for the Falls Event Center based in Salt Lake City.
I'm sorry, could you just make sure you're speaking all the way to the...
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
I'm
Is
sorry,
that
say your
better?
last name again.
I'm John Neubauer,
Neubauer.
Neubauer. I'm the Corporate General Manager for the Falls Event Center, which is the parent company of the Falls at Littleton, and I'm based in Salt Lake City.
Okay. And with you this evening is?
Carol Johnson for Esquire Petitioning Services.
All right, so I'm going to ask to swear both of you in at the same time. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give before this authority is truthful?
I do.
All right, thank you. I'm going to move that we enter exhibits A through G.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And for your reference, so you know what that is, Exhibit A is the application itself. Exhibit B is the memo from the Littleton Police Department on the background check. Exhibit C is a signed waiver and boundaries. Exhibit D is the proof of posting at the premises. Exhibit E is proof of publication of the hearing this evening. Exhibit F is are the petitions. And Exhibit G is the public hearing roster itself. So with all of that out of the way, would you like to go ahead and make your presentation?
Well, I would. This won't be polished, and as a Circle K, which is quite impressive. We are an event center company. We have 8 operating properties in the United States, the western half of the United States. We have on those 8 properties 14 event centers. For those of you that are not familiar with our facility, is it appropriate to at least share the picture of what our facility looks like with each of the members?
Sure, if you want to hand it.
I think there's 6 there for everyone.
Thank you.
Our company was formed in 2011. 3 of our founding members were co-founders of a company that pioneered this industry of small event centers in the United States, and we started here in 2011. We have properties in California, Oregon, Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Texas, Utah. Reference to those are on the back. When we started, all we do is we provide the space. Unlike most hospitality facilities like this that actually force you to use their catering, force you to use their planners, we're a venue only. As we've, in this particular facility here, we've invested $7 million. We have a property in Centennial that we intend to break ground on, if not this year, early next year. It's already permitted, ready for construction. So as we've experienced in our event centers, we have allowed guests, whether they're corporate guests or family events, to arrange for their own catering and their own liquor. And so when they arrange for their own liquor, they are responsible for being in compliance with the local laws in that community. Typically for anything other than maybe a small event, they typically then contract with a licensed entity that liquor serving. And as we've observed this happen in our facilities, I'm not going to say that we've had any bad incidents. We haven't in our locations, but when you invest this much money in a facility, we have come to the conclusion in recent months that we ought to take responsibility for protecting that investment better, and that's what led us to come to the conclusion that in all of our locations that we need to control the alcohol ourselves, control the supervision of it, the management of it, and if we're going to have liability without necessarily being in control, we've decided that if we bear that liability, then we ought to be in control. This is our first application in any of our locations. I've been in front of many governmental authorities in my 50 years of business. This is the first liquor control authority I've been in front of, so I'm not familiar with the ways and means, but I was taught well there. Our former general manager, Maggie Glass, here locally, has been involved in a number of liquor licensed event center facilities before. So she's the one that, at my request, prepared the application. She and Deputy Clerk Norton have worked together previously, and so I think our application is complete. But I can't attest to that. I signed it. I acted on the judgment of Ms. Glass. She now has, since that application was submitted, has started her own local consulting business for event centers. I plan to see if I can engage her to have her be a part of this process if you choose to approve our application tonight, to make sure that we go about working and doing the training in the correct way. Do I know all the details of the training? No. I know that we have a closet, a locked closet, which is where we're going to be storing and maintaining this. I know that all of our employees will go through the training. We don't have a lot, so we don't have 15 employees. We typically have 4 to 5 full-time employees and 5 to 6 part-time employees, and many of the part-time employees aren't necessarily involved in the actual operation of the event. They're more involved in the setup of the tables and the cleaning afterwards. But whoever the city says we should properly have licensed and trained is what we will do. With that brief introduction, I would, and then of course we arranged for the survey, which was done, and I'll let Carol take care of addressing that, but would be happy to answer any questions that you've got.
So how long have you all been open here in Littleton?
Littleton opened in July of 2016.
Okay, and so to this point, if your customers wanted to have alcohol during an event.
That's right. So if your daughter got married in our facility and you wanted to have a reception of 100 people or so, we would say to you, You go out, you retain the independent liquor person to do that, and then you bring us and show us that they have the proper credentials, license, insurance, et cetera. So that's how we've done it up to this point.
Any questions?
And yet we've had to maintain insurance for protecting them. So we not only require their insurance, but we have additional insurance as well. And so it's another reason that we thought we probably should be controlling this ourselves.
Sure.
So now you'll be responsible for the liquor. You'll have the liquor. You serve the liquor.
Correct.
And
that is our plan.
Will you still have caterers coming in though?
We'll still have independent
food?
caterers, that is correct. We will not be, we have no cooking facilities in that facility, so the county health department has no jurisdiction over us, so all food is prepared off-site, then brought and provided there.
Will the caterer be serving the liquor at all though? Like, were they going to bring around glasses of champagne or anything, or are your people?
If we're going to do this, we're going to do it according to the way the city laws require us to. So that's a detailed question I can't answer for you yet.
And what are your hours of operation going to be?
Typically, someone can actually open the event center at 7 o'clock in the morning, like Rotary Breakfast. It's open 7 days a week. When midnight comes, the event is over. So they must begin to close down their event and be out of there no later than 12:30 at night.
And are you going to permit the consumption of alcohol from 7 a.m. till midnight then, or are you going to have some?
It's more event
delineation
related.
too?
It's not that. So we're not selling alcohol to the public. So Carol won't be able to walk in. I started to reference you, Commissioner, but Carol won't be able to walk in off the street and say, "Can you sell me a beer? Give me a glass of wine." Everything is event related. Will be worked out in advance, and that's the way we intend to manage it.
I'm actually asking this question. I have a little experience in this world.
Please.
The University of Denver owned a mansion for a long time in Denver that operated as an event center, and I was one of the grad students that worked there. And we had really strict. We didn't serve to the public, but there were time frames in all the contracts in which alcohol could be served. Sometimes people would show up and want to start drinking right away in preparation for the event, and that wasn't built in the contract. And we shut down.
Yeah.
The bar shut down half an hour before the event was supposed to end. So that's my experience.
And we've had that. We've had to do that ourselves in situations like this, where we've had to go tell the person in charge of the liquor, "This is getting out of hand. Let's go ahead and shut this down." Additionally, though, as an additional measure, because in every community that we're in, we try to maintain solid relationships with the local police department. So, as a matter of a contractual policy. When someone books an event, they're going to be serving alcohol, or in this case, they're going to want alcohol served to them, and there's more than 50 people at the event, they are additionally required to pay for private security from licensed personnel that we choose. So they can't come and say, "Uncle Harry is a licensed security guard who may also be drinking at the same time." Likewise, no Uncle Harry is the bartender serving the alcohol.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now when you have an event, you don't have to ask them, "Please shut down the alcohol." You tell your employees to shut it down.
That's absolutely true. Thank you.
Mr. Neubauer, other than bridal events, can you give us a range of the kind of events you've been hosting?
Yes, we have during the week, all of our events are corporate events, Monday through Friday. We'll have everything from corporate seminars, training. I'm not quite so familiar with the nature of specifics here at the Littleton facility, but in our two Sacramento area facilities, we have a lot of Kaiser Permanente, where they'll come and take the whole building, or in the case of one of them, both buildings for a day or 2 days at a time, and provide corporate training there off-site. Chambers of Commerce is lunchtime, a lot of wedding receptions. Of course, every weekend is almost always a wedding reception. Once in a while, you'll get memorial services. We don't allow the caskets in the event center itself, but they can go to the funeral home and do that's done in the funeral home, and then come and have their celebration of life there in the event center itself. So that's just an example of some of the events that we have.
I see from your application that the backer of this facility is involved in the Even Stevens restaurant chain?
He is, yes. In fact, so I'm actually the corporate general manager, not only of the Falls Event Center, but the Steve Down companies. And Steve Down and I are the two people that put our fingerprints with the police department. And so, yes, the Steve Down has other companies that he started, including Even Stevens, which I think opened its first Denver area facility here in the last 30 days.
Right. And are all those establishments licensed for liquor?
Yes, they are.
And
I
can
don't,
you give us
know
a-
if they're full service, but I know they have beer and I know they have wine. I'm not sure about the one here.
Can you give us a general recitation of their history and in being involved in having liquor licenses? Have there been any
Understanding
problems?
is we're upstanding citizens in our community. We strive to be that way, and I'm not familiar with any instances where we have been in violation of required standards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we ask for a review of the petition? Would you like to go ahead and present your petition? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm not quite as tall. I shrunk. I used to be taller. The businesses were petitioned on Friday, September 15th, and Tuesday, the 19th. The area is fairly spread out, as you know, not much right directly around it. The residents were done on Saturday, September 16th. I made another attempt to try to contact, to get in touch with the people at the apartment buildings right directly across the street, which we've been denied access once before. We once again were denied access there. So the closest residents that were available to us were on either side of Mineral and on the east side of Santa Fe. So we did 4 or 5 different locations between Santa Fe and Broadway with different examples of the residents in that scattered area. It's a very large area, but we do try to make an attempt at staying close with that. The businesses, of course, there were some within the area there, then continued over to the Broadway area. We did a total of 571 door knocks, of which 156 people signed the petition, 68 declined, 16 were ineligible, and 329 did not respond to the door. Of that, we had 122 residents and 30 business owners or managers for 152 in support for 97.4%. 3 residents and 1 business owner or manager in opposition for 2.6%, equaling the 156 or 100%. Of the reasons in opposition, 2 were non-drinkers and 2 would not give a reason stated in opposition. So in the final needs and analysis, we had 152 in support for 100%. And I will answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on the petition? All right, thank you very much for the presentation.
I have one more.
Yeah, yes.
Our application referenced a January 1st effective date. We're doing that for a couple of reasons. So we're not looking for authority tonight, going out tomorrow and doing this. So the 2 reasons that we're doing it, number one, we have events already that have been booked and where they have been permitted to arrange for their own liquor, and we want to honor the commitments that we've already got with them as opposed to disrupting an event they may already have planned. Secondly, because this is our first, we'd like to make sure that we've got this 2.5 months to go through all of the proper training and set up our procedures. If the city wants to come in and give us counsel or feedback and say, we'd like to see you do it better, this is the one that we want to do it right so that when we go to California, Arizona, and other locations, we have a good track record with Colorado that we can point to.
All right. I would just add, since this is your first time and you haven't set up all the policies and procedures yet, that some of what you would have heard in the prior applicant is in under requirements of state law or local code, and some of it is just best practices. So would definitely encourage you to find someone, like you said, either a consultant or a training entity that has all of that that they can, bring to bear so that you all
That's
can
what I'm going to start to work on in the morning if this is something that you want to grant approval on tonight.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the authority? If not, I would entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Neubauer is the only one signed up to testify. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify before we close the public hearing? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I will move that the public hearing be closed and that a resolution of the Littleton Licensing Authority be approved, which grants the Falls of Littleton LLC, doing business as the Falls Event Center, 8199 South Park Court, Littleton, Colorado, a lodging and entertainment liquor license contingent upon approval by the Colorado Liquor Enforcement Division and based upon the following findings of fact. 1, that notice of the hearing is properly posted and published. 2, that the applicant has possession of the premises and the premises are suitable for the requested license. 3, that the needs of the neighborhood are not now being met. 4, that it is the desire of the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood that the license be issued. 5, that existing similar liquor licenses in the designated neighborhood are not adequate. And 6, that the applicant is of good moral character, record, and reputation.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the authority?
Chair Cole,
Yes.
Vice Chair Levere,
Yes.
Authority Member Buchanan,
Yes.
Authority Member Schock,
Yes.
Authority Member Webb.
Yes.
That passes unanimously. Congratulations. Wish you the best of luck with the new process. That brings us to item 10A. Are there any reports from the staff? And I'll mention for our fans at home, we will be in just a couple minutes here completing the public meeting and starting up a study session. But aside from those items, we're going to talk about anything from the staff.
Nothing from the clerk's office, no.
Nope. Anything from the authority members? Nothing for the chair. So as I mentioned, it's 7:27. I think it's just going to take us a couple minutes to get set up in the video for our study session. So if you are watching at home, I would say give us at least 5 minutes. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.